You know who else has questions about bikes? My mom! Oh!
Today's video has been brought to you in part by Stash. So stick around to the end of the video to see how you can earn $20 of free stock. What is going on, guys? You watching Mike, the musical vegan beast. And we're back at it again with another Q&A, and this time we're talking about bikes. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Starting us off with this Q&A, we've got our buddy Dre. And Dre asks, if your e-bike has a problem and you can't fix it, where do you take it for repair? So, there's no repair that I can't do myself. I do my own repairs, I'm my own mechanic, so to speak. I mean, if I absolutely had to, there is a bike mechanic, he owns a bike shop. It's a few miles from here, northeast or so. But other than that, I do my own repairs and everything. I can even change out my motors, or change the cassette, the clutch, etc., etc. Good skills to have, especially if you're a bike owner. And I don't know, I've even flirted with the idea of having a side hustle where I fix people's bikes, so we'll see about that. But honestly, when it comes to bike repairs, they're pretty easy. Really, the most challenging one is probably the motor itself. Removing the motor is pretty easy, but you do need some specialty tools in order to pull that off. And as far as disassembling the motor, if you have any issues with it, it might be the clutch, or maybe the planetary gears are stalling, so you have to get them greased. Just buy some bike grease, it's pretty easy. Otherwise, if you need to replace the clutch with the planetary gears, run you like 30-40 bucks on Amazon. It's pretty cheap. And if you absolutely had to change a motor, run you like 200 to 300, which is still about 20 to 30 times cheaper than a bike. Not a bike, a car motor, so you're saving a lot of money with that. And other than that, like I said, bikes are very low maintenance, even maintenance free to an extent. Just got to change out your tires when you need to, when there's no tread left, which I'm actually going to be doing that later on. So if you want to see that and more, be sure to stick around. I always got to get an Arnold in there every single time, every single day.
I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym. I'm getting the feeling of coming at home. I'm getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up, when I pose out in front of 5,000 people. I get the same feeling. So I'm coming day and night.
Other stuff's pretty simple too. If you needed to change out brake pads, run you like 10-15 bucks. The tires themselves, if I want to get stock tires, the fat tires 20x4 with tubes, I could get them for like 30 bucks a piece. That's still a lot cheaper than your average car tire. I went with the heavy duty ones this time though. Duty. Yeah, diarrhea.
Hey Lois!
What?
Diarrhea!
If you take really good care of your bike, then other things like the frame, the fork, the suspension, whatever suspension you got, that should basically last forever. I would just make sure that you oil everything, grease everything that needs to be greased, you know, like the chain, the suspensions, the fork itself, yada yada yada, cue the Seinfeld meme.
I'm on 3rd Avenue, minding my own business, and yada yada yada. I get a free massage and a facial.
Wow. What a succinct story.
Oh, and of course, if you need to change out your motor controller, you can get one for like 40-50 bucks on Amazon. And if you need to get the cable that attaches the different electronic pieces on the bike itself, that'll run you like 20-30 bucks. And the attachments themselves, they're all pretty cheap. So honestly, there's nothing that I can't fix, and there's nothing that I can't fix that I can't afford. So there's that. And for the next question, we've got our buddy PJ Venom. And they ask, did it take long for you to get used to all the attachments on your bike? The camera holder sticking out the front, and trailer for bigger orders, etc. Do you find the job stressful at all? I have a friend who's been a motorbike courier for years and says the time limits can be high pressure on bad days, and he can find it hard to switch off / relax after the day's action. So that latter part, I'll answer that in a separate video, as that really pertains more to my work. So if you guys want to see a Q&A when it comes to the kind of work that I do, And as you guys may or may not know by now, do gig work like DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, Shipt, Spark, GoPuff, etc., etc. Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. As far as the first part of the question, when it comes to the attachments for the bike, it didn't take very long getting used to any of it. And when I was picking out a cargo trailer, that way I can get bigger grocery orders and what have you, be able to carry larger, bulkier items, I purposely chose one that can pivot or telescope with my bike. And I went with a single wheel, the Baku single wheel cargo trailer. If you haven't seen my video reviewing that, box opening, first impressions, what have you, be sure to check it out in this time card right here. When it comes to the cargo trailer that I picked out, I made sure I picked out one that can actually turn with my bike. So it has a telescoping axle with the hitch arms on it. And the hitch arms, I attached them to the hitch bolts. And the hitch bolts are attached to the rear wheel axle. So basically, it moves with my bike whenever I make turns. And the turns feel much more fluid, less stiff, because it's a single wheel. And the single wheel is in sync directly with the wheels on my bike. So the turns, they feel much more natural, they feel more fluid, and I can make surprisingly sharp turns too. And balance isn't an issue. As far as balance, the main thing is if I use the cargo trailer and I carry like big bulky items or just a lot of groceries with it, I just have to make sure to load it up evenly on both sides. That way it doesn't shake, it doesn't tilt over, it doesn't pull on the hitch bolt and throw off the axle of my rear wheel. But other than that, that's really it. I've got some other attachments from my bike as well. I've got a front crate, a rear crate, which is right on the rear rack. And attached to that rear crate, I've got the battery bag that carries my second battery, and that second battery just gives me extra power and range. It weighs under 10 pounds. The selfie stick's mounted on the front, and I've got a handlebar extender that allows me to carry some extra stuff too. But as far as payload, as far as balance or buoyancy, it makes no real difference, so it just comes natural. Next up, we've got Decidedly Donna. She has 2 questions for us, and the first one is, do you do anything special to help extend the longevity of the battery life? So the main thing I do, as you guys probably know by now, I have 2 batteries hooked up to my bike. The second one is from my first e-bike, and that just gives me extra power and range. In order for me to pull that off, I had to get a dual battery connector. So with the battery connector, it allows me to run both batteries, assuming they're the same voltage, at the same time, and it uses them at the same rate. So instead of like draining one battery and then defaulting to the other, they're running simultaneously. If you want, you could just run one battery at a time, especially if you're just running a quick errand and you don't want to have both batteries running at the same time. But other than that, it's really just most ideal to run both at the same time. Should you decide to have 2 batteries for your bike, definitely recommend it. And I've got this one here, which is also on my Amazon list of bike replacement parts and what have you. So if you haven't checked that out, be sure to do so. And the next question that Donna has for me is, as an avid cyclist, what specific improvements to the bike infrastructure in your town would you like to see? I.e., more designated bike lanes, bike repair stations, safety enhancements, etc. So first and foremost, Titusville needs to clean their frickin' bike lanes. I'm tired of all the debris, the rubble, all the sharp objects they're in the bike lanes. Only the bike lanes too, right? You go on the main roads are perfectly clean, you know, especially when they're done with their construction. But you know how they clean it? They don't actually take it off the road. They just push it in the bike lane. So then people like me, we gotta run over it and keep getting flats. It's freaking ridiculous, man. And it's like, no matter how many times you complain, it's like, it takes forever or they just don't care. And I know Titusville doesn't really care about bikers, so I guess a lot of my criticism falls on deaf ears. But I digress.
But
yeah, essentially I'd love to see Titusville get a real cleanup crew. That way anytime that we've got construction contractors, instead of them just leaving a big mess or making a worse mess and then leaving, you know, leaving nails and screws and sharp rocks and pieces of broken glass on the ground, as well as litter bugs, I'd like to see a real cleanup crew instead of just pushing all the rubble to the side. That way the pedestrians have to deal with it, as well as the bikers too. I'd love to see that happen. I'd also love to see harsher punishment whenever they're neglecting that sort of stuff. Like, if you're not cleaning up after yourself, construction crew, and you're just leaving a worse mess than what was already there to begin with, then yeah, like, you should be fined or just some kind of punishment for that. I mean, call me a Karen with these complaints, but I'm just saying, man, right? Like, if this kind of stuff was happening to you on the main road with a car, you know, you driving your car on the main road and you saw these problems, wouldn't you complain too? But again, I digress. Littering is also a big problem in my area, so I'd like to see harsher punishments for that as well, and just greater intervention on preventing this stuff from happening, or at least making it much less likely to happen again. Because it's one thing to clean up the mess, but it's another thing to help prevent the mess from happening again. Does that make sense? I don't know. Just let me know in the comment section down below if you can see what I'm saying. And for some reason, some of the main roads in Titusville, they don't even have bike lanes. Either that, or it stops halfway down, which, that doesn't make any sense, you know? And I've even seen some lanes that are supposed to merge bikes with cars. It's got an icon with like a car and a bike. It's supposed to prompt that bikes share this lane with cars. But that's an accident waiting to happen. There's one main road in Titusville that comes to mind that does that. It's called South Hopkins. And I don't know why they do that other than just pure laziness. Or maybe there's like contractual issues as far as leasing the land or selling the land or city property, federal property. I don't freaking know. But the fact that this is so contrived and confusing as it is, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'd like to see them just do away with those kinds of lanes, put a bike lane in there, even if it's only on one side of the road, fine, whatever, compromise. But I want to see more bike lanes on main roads. We're not talking like suburban roads, we're not talking back roads, boulevards, terraces, we're talking main roads. So that's the least they can do. And as far as other stuff like bike repair stations or safety enhancements, I think that's a good idea too. And I think it's entirely doable. Like, if you just take out a very small section of like a car repair shop, an automotive shop, maybe like a very small corner, and they either have a designated bike mechanic or they just have like a free-for-all stand that's like planted in the ground, the concrete, that way it doesn't get stolen. I can see that happening. Or maybe they build it over by parks. I don't know. But I think that'd be pretty cool too. I think another interesting idea would be to have guardrails, especially around like intersections of highways and main roads. Because another thing that happens in Titusville is cars really love to use bike lanes as turning lanes. That really grinds my frickin' gears, man. Insert the Family Guy meme.
Oh. Well, it appears I've been fired. Well, as long as I'm no longer working here, let me tell you something. You know what really grinds my gears? You, America. You, Diane.
And the thing is, half the time I see it happen, and there's a cop not too far away, and they don't do anything about it. That's technically illegal. You're not supposed to do that. It's a bike lane. It even shows the picture of the bike that says bike lane. Ugh, come on, Titusville, do better, man, do better. Honestly, I can just go on and on about this particular subject all day. I got some subjects that I feel especially passionate about. This is one of them. But basically, more bike lanes, mandatory on main roads, a real cleanup crew, harsher punishments for littering and leaving messes, potentially repair stations, if implemented properly, and maybe even guardrails around intersections? I don't know. I mean, I know that you can just technically switch over to a sidewalk if need be, because federal law with a Class 2 bike, you can technically go up to 20 miles an hour on it. So, there's that, I guess, but still, that's just sidelining the problem. That's stepping around the problem, not actually solving it. So, there's that. The next question comes from Ethically Based Ex-Omnivore, and they ask, have you ever gotten your bike up to a high enough speed to jump several cop cars and a helicopter? No, not yet. But, hey, if there's any one way to go out, you know, if I had to have one last hoorah in this world, that might be it. Certainly flashy. So if you ever see some maniac on a bike in that exact scenario on the news, Might be me. And last but not least, we've got our buddy Ulf. He's got 2 questions for us. And the first one is, Are you good at cardio since you use your bike so much? Or do you mostly use electric? Hold on guys, I gotta sit down for a minute. Gotta catch my breath. It's like, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I would say my electric bike has helped with my cardio, especially since for like a few months last year, I'd say about 3 months or so, I wasn't training in the gym at all. I wasn't even riding my bike. I was just in a really, really deep funk, pretty bad depression around that time. I'm not really going to get into it here because I don't want to end this video on a somber note or anything. But let's just say I'm feeling better from that. Because, you know, I'm going to the gym as frequently as possible, as often and consistently as I can. That way I can keep making
Those vegan gains.
What a relief! When will this poisonous product cease?
And last but not least, we got the final question, which is, would you take me on a bike ride in the sunset? If your bike had space for me. Yes, I would, Ulf. And it would look something like this.
Hiya, Bobby.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go for a ride?
Sure, Ken.
Jump in.
Oh, I'm having so much fun.
Well, Bobby, we're just getting started.
Oh, I love you, Ken.
And with that, that's going to be a wrap on today's video. I was going to show some B-roll of me changing my heavy-duty tires and maybe going over some tips and tricks about how to maintain your bike and whatnot. But you might have to take a rain check because I didn't get my tires in the mail today. I was supposed to get them, but they're running late, so probably got to wait till tomorrow or maybe the day after. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button. And if you like it that much, don't forget to lick it. And as always, subscribe. Turn on that notification bell, that way you get notified the next time I upload. And for any inquiries, if you need to privately message me, you can always reach me on Mike the Musical Vegan Beast, 69420-666 at protonmail.com. That's not a joke, that's a real email. So if you need to message me privately, send me an email about anything, you could hit me up over there. And as always, if you want to check out my link tree, here it is. Yeah, you'll find my affiliate link for Stash, and I was going to say my work affiliate links, but I removed them, and, you know, I did explain that in the community post, so scratch that. But you can still support me on Patreon, or buy me some coffee if you feel like it. And, I don't know, you might find something interesting over there, especially the resources that can help you and your family and friends go vegan, if you're not already, so be sure to check that out when you can. And as always, quick shout out to my regular subscribers and viewers, everybody that likes, comments, shares, subscribes, and shares, and blah blah blah, repeating myself, so I can keep making those vegan
And algorithm gains.
I love you guys, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time. Take care.